it's scarce. And they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. The bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the salt.
Hollywood may be panicking over what Katt Williams has been saying. According to Katt, the deeper story isn't just about fame, money, or power. It may connect all the way back to Jeffrey Epstein and some of the biggest names in entertainment. And if even part of that alleged network ever gets fully exposed, the fallout could be massive. Because once those names start coming into public view, people believe the entire image of Hollywood could begin to crack.
Infiltrate the Illuminati, find out what the fuck they got going on, get the information, run back to y'all, tell y'all everything I know. That's my motherfucking job. But I don't know how many more times I'm gonna be able to sneak in there. Thanks to Shannon Sharp and 90 million views, I can't sneak very often. So while I was in there this last time, knowing that my last report might be my last report, I went in there and I got information for everybody. Look at my white friends. Us too? That's right, white secrets.
Nearly a year before Diddy's arrest, Katt Williams said he had spent decades gathering information on powerful people in Hollywood and the music business. He claimed he had been buying secrets, collecting pieces, and preparing for the day he might finally speak. Then, about 6 months after those remarks, the FBI raided Diddy's mansion in Miami. Reports said agents found drugs and around 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Since that moment, Katt has described Hollywood as a place where contracts, intimidation, and financial promises are allegedly used to influence young actors and celebrities. He even recalled being offered access to female stars in exchange for going along with what he says was the system. Katt has said he turned Harvey Weinstein down, and after that, his world seemed to fall apart. In his telling, the industry realized it couldn't steer him, so it allegedly tried to shut him out and even interfere with his family. Katt has pointed out that he was charged 17 different times, yet never convicted. Even so, his children were taken from him, and he later suggested the timing was far too suspicious to ignore, especially since it all came after he refused Weinstein.
No, this is their 9th time coming to my house. The problem was this time they came to my office and took my kids from an office. Not from my house, from an office. So now when I can't have my kids at my office,
that's an issue.
I must be the most terrible black dude. Because here's the whole thing. You gonna charge me with child endangerment? After I adopted 7 children and had them for 14 years in this state? Really? You coming after my kids now? Because it was already a witch hunt. Now you want my babies? Yikes.
More recently, Katt spoke about what he believes was the real source of Harvey Weinstein's power. He suggested it went well beyond Hollywood influence alone. According to Katt, Weinstein's connections allegedly reached into political circles, government figures, and even high-level law enforcement. He also claimed that celebrities who refused to participate in illegal or compromising situations could be silenced in extreme ways. And in that kind of environment, if a star suddenly died, studios and powerful interests could allegedly avoid payouts and gain access to huge amounts of money.
The type of ratings we need and attention to be on this thing. See, what I'm saying is, in business, nothing is coincidental, or you would be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they killed this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits.
Wow.
And they had some people from your city do it.
Wow.
I'm saying there's the good side and the bad side of these businesses.
But think about what you just think about what you just said. That's extremely thoughtful and powerful.
Katt went even further, claiming Weinstein and Epstein were allegedly tied together in supplying elites with access to young performers connected to Epstein's island. He presented himself as one of the first people to publicly point toward a Weinstein-Epstein connection years before the wider public started asking those questions.
This is why those one world people exist, because it's a very powerful concept to have and far too lucrative and beneficial to not. Everybody is a supplier. Epstein, Weinstein, like these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it, and provided the way for you to to have $1 billion and not create a fantasy island type environment has not existed throughout history.
Right.
And this is where the story gets darker. Katt has suggested that people who know too much about powerful elites often don't get the chance to say everything they know. Epstein reportedly agreed to cooperate and testify against others, and everyone knows how that ended. Public discussion also resurfaced around Jean-Luc Brunel, one of Epstein's top recruiters, after reports claimed he may have been willing to expose the larger trafficking ring in exchange for immunity. Instead, the DOJ was accused by critics of ignoring that possibility, and Brunel was later found dead in prison.
I file that says one of Epstein's, it says what appears to say BFs, best friends perhaps, Jean-Luc Brunel has, quote, helped get he is wanting to cooperate. And it goes on to discuss a plan for that and that he's hired a lawyer and how that would work. And so these are notes that date all the way back to a period where Brunel was believed to have considered cooperating. If you haven't heard of him, if you haven't followed this case as closely, he's one of the key officials because he held himself out as a kind of modeling scout. He did, and that's debated over whether he was actually an alleged sex trafficker, but that was one of the tools they would use. He went into businesses that had arrangements with Epstein. He was on the flights a lot. So his name was one of those that had been around before.
So why, according to Katt's supporters, are elites suddenly so worried about him? Because Katt says he was present. He went to the parties, watched what happened, and saw things firsthand. In his view, the people around him assumed he was part of their world, until he made it clear he might speak out. Katt even said he watched celebrities line up for shuttle buses headed to Diddy's parties, and he hinted that Will Smith may know more than he has ever said publicly, while Eddie Murphy may also understand more than people realize.
Quickly answer your question, and to not say anything that would infringe legally. Yeah, a lot of people indeed do ask that. Like, how do you know what goes on at the P. Diddy party if you weren't at the P. Diddy party? You know? Yeah, so one of the jokes that I discuss on the tour is the fact that they would have these parties in the Hollywood Hills, you know, and then they would have a parking lot where they would shuttle people up. So everybody would meet in this parking lot and they would send shuttles down to, you know, Diddy's parties. And so I wasn't ever invited to the parties, but I was invited to the parking lot because I knew the people that ran the shuttle service. You knew them too, as it turned out. But yeah, I would go to the parking lot and I would watch them all go up there. And, you know, they would be thinking I'm coming later. I would just be on the car having a grand old time, smoking and laughing and watching everybody who's going. And yeah, so you can't tell me what goes on, because 5 hours later, I'm still in the parking lot when they come down. And, you know, just to see all them big time Hollywood men that I just watched go up there, they all come down off the shuttle and looking sad in the eyes, and all of them wearing Sean John and looking oily, and they all walk crazy like this, and their shoelaces were always untied. I don't know why. Their shoelaces were always untied. And then they would get in their car and they would drive off standing up, big boy.
At this point, many people believe the powerful aren't even bothering to hide their fear anymore. During a deposition, billionaire Lex Wexner acknowledged that Jeffrey Epstein had worked for the Rothschild family. Almost immediately after that, his lawyer reportedly leaned in and warned him not to answer another question with more than a few words. And that moment raised a disturbing question for a lot of viewers. If billionaires appear uneasy around the story, then who is actually safe? As Katt keeps speaking, many people feel the danger around him is only growing, especially when the system he's criticizing has long been accused of silencing anyone who pushes back.
And personal work for the Rothschild family in France. Well, specifically, I talked to Elie de Rothschild, and so I mentioned that earlier. So he represented their whole family, so there had been a whole bunch of people. Most of them I never would have met, but I knew Elie. He would say, like, I'm providing financial advice to the founders of Google. I'm providing financial advice to Jeff Bezos.
Answer the question. 5 words, okay? Answer the question. Okay.
To understand why this story won't go away, many people point to Epstein's Black Book. It was said to contain names, phone numbers, dates, and alleged links to those who visited his island, along with references to victims. For years, people believed there was only one copy, and even after Epstein's conviction, nobody seemed able to locate it. Then in 2009, the FBI reportedly discovered someone online trying to sell it, leading to a sting operation later referenced in release material. That footage allegedly showed Epstein's former Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, attempting to sell a small black book of contact information while claiming it included powerful people and victims connected to Epstein.
Last name, area codes, okay.
Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
This book was made by Epstein?
This is a video of an FBI sting operation with Jeffrey Epstein's former house manager and an undercover FBI employee from 2009. The Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, believes he is selling Epstein's address book to someone representing a lawyer of Epstein's victims.
You will see a lot of important people here.
He claims that the book contains contacts of powerful people, as well as Epstein's victims.
So those are mostly underage girls, those numbers?
They were very young.
A source familiar with the case confirmed the video shows the sting operation, which court documents show happened 2 years after the FBI demanded that Rodriguez turn over any Epstein documents. Instead, court documents say he kept the address book and tried to sell it for $50,000. In the occasionally redacted 45-minute video of the meeting, Rodriguez implicates Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, who's now serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking of.
Ghislaine Maxwell was his former companion, very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries in Europe and find girls for Epstein. And I knew that because I went with my wife.
Rodriguez also claims that Maxwell kept a computer database of girls, something he said he saw briefly once.
What kind of pictures?
Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil.
There are still rumors that the network Epstein was involved with never actually ended. Investigative journalist Nick Bryant, who first published Epstein's Black Book in 2015, has said he was tipped off that a successor may still be trafficking individuals through elite circles. Bryant has spent more than a decade investigating high-level trafficking networks, and he was even named in Epstein's own emails as someone causing problems.
I'm curious, who do you think Yeah, I don't know what if you have an answer for this, but I'm curious, who do you think is the next Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, so I was told that there was a Jeffrey Epstein understudy. And I don't know, I don't know if that source was correct or not. But at any given time, there are various Jeffrey Epsteins, children, that are protected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that because I'm a lightning rod for that type of stuff. People contact me all the time. And Jeffrey Epstein and Franklin are the only networks that have come around in the last 30 years. I mean, they're at any given time, there are various networks that work that are protected.
Now, where can people look? What should people be weary of? How would someone identify this individual or this web of individuals?
Well, with Epstein, he was identified in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Maria Farmer went to the FBI in 1996 and said that he had child pornography. And so that was the first time that we know of where Epstein could have been stopped.
Right. And it's still operated for 10 years. Pretty much with immunity.
Well, actually, he operated till 2019.
Fair.
So,
but with no legal recourse up until 2006.
Yeah.
Supporters of this theory also point to the deaths and tragedies surrounding some of Epstein's accusers. In April 2025, just weeks before the first release of Epstein-related files, Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most well-known accusers, died in what was reported as a suicide. But before that, she had reportedly been hit by a car in a hit-and-run incident, and the driver was never identified. What shocked many people even more was that shortly before her death, Virginia had posted publicly that she was not suicidal. In that message, she said she had already made her position clear to both her therapist and her doctor. She also wrote that if something happened to her, people should not let it disappear because too many evil individuals wanted her silenced. That post only intensified public suspicion and made the entire story feel even darker.
Live now, I'm Austin Westfall. Breaking news coming in, some sad news to share. We're learning this from the New York Post, several other outlets reporting this as well. Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of the late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, took her own life on Thursday. This is just weeks after she made headlines for saying that she had days to live after she claimed to have been hit by a bus. A statement given to NBC News was quoted as such from the 41-year-old's family. It says, "It's with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. She lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and stalking." The New York Post says that Giuffre took legal action against billionaire financier Epstein in 2015, alleging that she was trafficked at age 16 after his ex-lover and convicted madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, recruited her from her job as a locker room attendant at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. The mom of 3, according to the Post, also alleged that she was forced to have sex with disgraced Prince Andrew 3 times when she was 17, including at Epstein's Little St. James Island in New Mexico, and Little St. James Island in New Mexico, and in Maxwell's London home, where a notorious photo of her with King Charles' eldest brother was taken. The Post says the allegations became the biggest scandal to rock the royal family in a generation. Again, hearing of the sad news just within the past hour, Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, taking her own life on Thursday. It was announced on Friday, her death.
It echoes what Katt Williams has been saying for a long time. In this industry, almost nothing happens without someone gaining from someone else's pain.
Names together. The police are out on stage. They've cut to commercial. You didn't see what happened. By the time they come out, people have been removed. It goes on. It's certain ways things are handled when it's not intentional. When things go smoothly, but they seem chaotic, that means there was forethought and a plan. Somebody, even if it looks like, yeah, Janet Jackson just had a wardrobe malfunction. Yeah, there's no such thing.
Correct.
I don't care who you blaming.
I believe that. I believe that.
Somebody benefited. Yeah. So in all of these situations, there's a business involved and there's real money involved, and somebody's benefiting from this thing that looks like, oh, that just happened. Nah, no way. No way. It would be hard for a homeless guy to get into the Hollywood Bowl, let alone a homeless guy be able to rush the stage and actually.
One person Katt has often pointed to is Dave Chappelle. Dave understood, in Katt's view, that money in Hollywood doesn't always come without conditions. Chappelle famously walked away from $100 million. When Oprah asked him if he was crazy for turning that deal down, Dave made it clear that he believed the money could become a way to control him. After he stepped away, Oprah criticized him publicly, and at the time, very few people seemed to understand why Dave made that choice. But now, through Katt's lens, many people think the picture looks a lot different.
Comedian Dave Chappelle left tens of millions of dollars on the table when he walked away from his popular Comedy Central show. A lot of people wondered what the hell was he thinking, and that's a quote. Chappelle says he had, or whether he was thinking. A lot of people ask that question. Chappelle says he had a crisis of conscience and stood up for his integrity as an artist. He explained to us how stepping out of the spotlight helped him avoid getting caught in a trap.
It's so much bigger than money, though, Dave. It's so much bigger than money.
Oh, no, it was bigger than money. But you know what? I watched one of these nature shows one time, and they were talking about how a bushman finds water when it's scarce. And they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently, baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole, and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt. Salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. Bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the salt.
Katt has also talked about how the industry allegedly tried to discredit Dave Chappelle after he began speaking out. According to Katt, they pushed labels onto him, painted him as unstable, and tried to frame him as a drug addict rather than someone raising serious concerns.
But Dave Chappelle was decapitated in front of us. And until we deal with that, until we deal with the fact that a devout Muslim who doesn't eat bacon was accused of being a kid, until we establish the fact that they said that he went to Africa to smoke cocaine when we know they don't have running water and food over there, when they don't have paved roads over there. You saying he flew past Chicago and Miami and LA and New York and Detroit. You saying he went past Cleveland and Fort Pierce, Florida, and he went past Okeechobee and Oakland. You say he went to another country where they're not eating?
Right.
You talking about somebody who has a wife and children, 5 children, and lives on a farm, doesn't live here in Hollywood. You saying you convinced people that person was an insane kid, and he hasn't been on movies and TV for 8 years? Is that correct? Okay, then don't tell me about what you want to tell me about. I just watched you decapitate the king in front of me, and then act like he's supposed to catch up and be a regular comedian like everybody else. But no.
He didn't go for that.
That's not how it went. He was out there with us for 20 years. They called him Pilot Boy because he had 19 pilots in Hollywood, and everybody passed on him and said his show wasn't worth it.
What do you think of
Then when he made $500 million, they said even though his contract said he should get half of it, they said he made too much for the contract to be valid, so we'll offer you 10% of what you made. You mean he made $500 million and they offered him 50? Yes. And he said, what do you think my fans are gonna say when they find out you offered me 10% of what I made you? And they said, your fans will believe that you're a crazy crackhead by the time you get home. And my guy on the flight in LA, and by the time he got to Ohio, it was so. And 8 years later, he hasn't been in a movie and or television. Is just now trying to do his real comeback at Radio City Music Hall.
So here's the bigger question. Why hasn't anyone been able to stop Katt Williams? Is it because he's telling a truth too dangerous to ignore, or because what he's exposing is bigger than any one person? Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you believe Katt is revealing something real, or do you think there's still another layer to this story? Because one thing is certain, this conversation is far from over.